here I am. Carol and I go way back. Not as far back as NEBA, because she came in a few years after it was set up, which was 32 years ago. NEBA was created, actually, if you really want to go back a real ways, in the 30s of all places, the 1930s.
Really?
A man by the name of Mr. Neville died.
Oh, yeah.
And he left $10 million. Now go back to the 30s and figure out what $10 million was. And he made a will, and he said, I leave this money for a home for the deaf and the blind.
You're kidding.
Yes, yes, yes.
That's me.
We're a little too young to get the money left in 1930. Actually, it went to court and all those things too, because they didn't mix the deaf and the blind in those days. They just left them separate, and it ended up that the monies were separated, and basically you just had to write a good grant to get the monies. But nobody wrote a good grant until around 1970. When, I wrote it, but it was with a lot of people. The idea was to bring most of the groups together. There are plenty of blind groups out there. We were able to round up 4 or 5. I was director of the Library for the Blind. And we made it an application, and we received $1 million. Back in 1970, it was still a lot. It was good enough to buy the building that most of you are somewhat familiar with, called 919. And all of the blind agencies went in. Now, the city of Philadelphia has a requirement that in a building that is basically being renovated, that you have to put 1% of the money towards art. And so my only brilliant contribution to NEBA was, I said, let's get blind artists to do it. But nobody ever heard of any blind artists in 1972, so we had to make a search for them. We found a few, and we were able to spend the money. And if you go into the building itself, you'll see all of these beautiful plaques that are on the wall. And they were made by a blind artist group, very much like the group that's still working here in Philadelphia. And we had a big opening, everybody was happy, and I decided that was fine. But the artists came and said, let's do it again. And they got a person by the name of Hester Pepper involved. Now, Pepper is a name you hear on the main line quite a bit. With Hester came her friends, some monies, not a lot of money, but enough money every year to basically keep this going on till now. Skipping ahead to why my arm is around this woman, about 5 years later,
I'm holding all these people up.
Carol walked into my office, and she had just had some bad news, and she was coming in not for the art, but because we have what they called then talking books, but now everybody knows what books are on tape, and that was our main purpose. And she sat down, and she told me a story. Something happened in that office when I was with Carol. Fortunately, it wasn't sexual harassment. Because she tells a different story than I remember, but somehow she came out of it. An epiphany happened, and she transferred, and suddenly her art became important to her again. I always thought it was important anyhow. You changed from painting to paper mache, back to painting, and I followed your career. The sculpture, 2 pieces are out there now. She has been fabulous. She had her show just about a month ago, 2 months ago. Fabulous artist, and we're really proud to have her. And as I take a little credit, but not all the credit she usually gives me, for this woman and what she has done, and has been a mainstay to our program. So let me introduce Carol.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much. How to start this, because you already said some of the things I was going to say, but I have been gradually losing my hearing and my eyesight for more than 25 years, almost 30 years. And recently I saw results of a study that said that the only things that people fear more than blindness are cancer and AIDS. And today I find that just preposterous. But back then, when I met Michael 25, 30 years ago, I was buying into that stereotypical idea of blindness. I had just graduated from the Tyler School of Art at age 39, and it had taken me 7 years because I was raising a family and I was teaching part-time. I got a teaching job in 1976 when they were very scarce. I know you're all doing the math there. Yes, I am that old, yes. And so you can imagine how I felt when, after a few years, I realized I was losing my hearing and my vision. And I didn't understand that the services for the blind were for me. So I struggled by myself for almost 5 years. And just by accident, my husband and I just happened to walk in off Walnut Street at 919. And that's when we met Michael, who, as he said, was the director then. He spent over an hour with me and my husband telling us about all of the things that I was eligible for. And I just kept saying, but I'm not blind. And I wasn't really at a lot of usable sight, but Michael explained the criteria of blindness. And the most exciting thing he told me about was the national exhibits by blind artists. I went home so happy. I was so thrilled. And that was when everything started. Michael started the ball rolling for me. I got the talking books. I got mobility training with the white cane from Montgomery County. And even though I still had a lot of usable vision, it's important that people understand that that's when you need to learn this kind of thing. And then I could go in and out of Center City by myself. I took a lot of courses from the Hadley School for the Blind, which is a free correspondence school. And by the end of the year, I was checking into the Grad Towers dormitory on the Penn campus, where I lived for 10 months at age 50. And I studied computers. After that, I got a job on the Penn campus. Piece of cake, right? Nothing to it. It was tough, it was painful, and it was fraught with frustration, but it was well worth it. Now, because I'm a grandmother, I'm going to tell you a grandmother's story, just like Peg. A few years ago, my son moved to South Carolina, and I went to help them. And one day, my little 3-year-old grandson, Nicholas, and I were in the backyard. I was emptying the vacuum. And when it came time to put it back together, I was struggling. And I knew Nikki was watching. So I said, Nikki, you never give up. Oh, I always do this. You just have to keep trying, and sometimes you have to take a break. So we took a break, and we got it back together. And then the next day we were all in the car, and I heard Nikki's little voice come from the back seat. And I couldn't hear what he said because I'm deaf, but I heard his mommy laugh. And this is what his mommy told me Nikki said. He said, Mommy, was I a good boy today? And she said, yes, Nikki, you were. And he said, well, Mommy, I'm going to be a good boy all the time, every day, but sometimes I'm going to take a break.